Hi, this is Emma, and welcome to your Cancer season and your business 2023 forecast. Before we get into things, I'm going to take a moment to introduce myself. So I am both an astrologer and a brand designer, and I empower entrepreneurs to build delicious fucking brands through the power of astrology. And so today I'm going to be talking about kind of some major transits that are going to be coming up in the cosmos and what that might mean for your business. Now, before we get started, I suggest that you see your own business chart or even like your own personal natal chart. Now, if you've never looked this up, all it is the date, time, location of an establishing moment for your business. So typically that's when you file some sort of paperwork with your county or state. A lot of times it has a stamp right on it. Or if you got an EIN number, an LLC, something like that, if you did a digital filing, you can often find the confirmation email and that will have a time date stamp on it, and you just use the location that you filed that in. If you don't have any of that information for establishing your business, all you have to do is use your personal information. Having the time is probably one of the most important things when it comes to all of this, because it just unlocks so much more specificity for your chart. And when I talk about today's forecasting, you want to look at your ascendant, the ASC, the rising sign. That's going to give you the greatest amount of impact for these forecasts. So I definitely suggest you find a time if you don't have one, because that's going to unlock your ascendant sign. And that sign is going to bring the most powerful cosmic download for you. If you don't have access to that, no sweat. All you have to do is take a look at your sun sign. But let's get into it. So last month, when I did my Gemini season predictions, I talked a lot about how the movement of Mars leaving Cancer and entering Leo, a bigger, bolder sign where it functions a lot better. And same with Venus kind of doing that repair work and trailing behind Mars and going through Cancer and now entering Leo, how that is kind of like this extension or this story that we had going on with Mars being in Gemini for the majority of October to March of this past year. And when the sun moved into Gemini, it kind of brought back to focus all of the kind of downloads, the things we were exploring, the things we were learning from that time of the Mars in Gemini retrograde, October to March. So maybe take a look back, see if any of that stuff came into focus. I know for me, it definitely did. I felt like I was so much more in gear. I mean, to be honest, it feels like 10 years ago when I created that video. Like, it feels like so long ago. I don't know where the time has gone, but it feels so distant. And then when I think of June, it feels like it's passed in a blink of an eye. I don't know. Time feels really funky right now, probably because Mercury is moving so fast, and we will get to that in a second. But going into this month, the main transits that I am kind of looking at and going to be discussing in this video is, of course, Cancer, the sun in Cancer. It moved there on the summer solstice on June 21st. And so I'll be talking about what that's highlighting in your business, as well as the full moon that's going to be happening in Capricorn. That's just going to give a little bit of flavor to things. The big news happening this Cancer season, and it happens literally on the last day right before the sun enters Leo, is Venus retrograde. And why we're talking about it now instead of in the Leo season forecast is because Venus is moving super slow in Leo right now. And so before it begins its retrograde, a lot of those themes are going to be kind of established in this moment right now. So one thing I should mention about Venus retrogrades is they happen in the same sign every 8 years. So 8 years ago, we had another Leo retrograde, and they don't happen every year like most other planets do. But what Venus really stands for and what it's really about is kind of like social aesthetics and trends and tastes and what is in style versus what's unfashionable, what's unfavorable, what feels old, what feels jaded, what feels tired. And it's kind of like the conversation about what are we valuing right now and what are we willing to leave behind, or what doesn't have as much currency behind it as it used to. So a Venus retrograde can really shift when new trends emerge, when old trends die out, when things that were working harmoniously fall out of fashion. And this could also be in relationship senses. You can see a lot of partnerships falling apart during this time or not quite working. Another signature of a Venus retrograde is unconventionality. So this is definitely a good time to maybe try something a little bit new, or you might find something unique is emerging in the forefront of things that you wouldn't have thought would be so popular or such a big trend. I could really see this maybe on like TikTok, like perhaps like a social conversation is really gaining a lot of traction that perhaps is unconventional or unusual, especially because this retrograde is happening in Leo, and Leo is so bold and so visible and so bright that I would be shocked if this doesn't shift some sort of conversation around social media and the trends on social media. Because right now, that's kind of like the boldest platform we have. Where in the past, Hollywood, celebrity, that kind of thing was a little bit more of Leo, Venus, retrograde's playground. Now it's like anybody can be a celebrity. So I feel like there's going to be some sort of new social media trend emerging during this time. And Venus will be in retrograde from the 22nd of July all the way until September 3rd of this year. So it's definitely going to be going on for a couple weeks here. But right now is kind of like that shadow pre-launch phase. So we're going to be discussing kind of what that's highlighting in your chart. And then lastly, there is an opposition between Mars in Virgo and Saturn, which is hanging out in Pisces. And that is happening on the 20th. So these last couple days before the sun leaves Cancer, before that Venus retrograde takes off, there's also going to be this Mars opposing Saturn. So what does the sign Cancer represent? To me, Cancer is so much about establishing environments to feel safe and comfortable in, and it's also super protective. And I think the protective element of Cancer kind of gets overlooked because a lot of people like to reduce Cancer to just being a bunch of crybabies, and I think that's part of the sign for sure, but it's not telling the whole picture. And when we look at Cancer, it's represented by the crab. And what is a crab? It's something that has a hard shell and pinchers, and it's trying so hard to protect its soft, vulnerable insides. And to me, that's more of the picture of Cancer. Like, it knows how sensitive and soft it is, so it has to put on all this armor to keep itself safe. It knows how to create these nurturing environments for it to feel safe and protected in. And depending on where it shows up in your chart, which we'll get to, it's going to give like a different flavor to your business. But this is kind of where we create safe spaces in our business. Sometimes that's for us, sometimes that's for our clients. But that's kind of like the overall vibe of the sign of Cancer. Cancer is also ruled by the moon, and so it tends to really be into emotions in the subconscious and sort of like the phases of things. Like it's not a very set in stone, concrete sign. It definitely ebbs and flows, and it tends to be very cyclic as well. Another thing I should mention is the planet Mercury. So whereas Venus is moving really, really slow, Mercury is moving super, super fast this month. So any of you guys with a Virgo or Gemini rising or sun are really, really going to feel this energy of quickness, of speed, of movement, which is going to feel really, really nice, especially for you Gemini people, because we did have that Mars retrograde in Gemini, which really slowed things down. So that's another thing to know as well. Venus moving slow, Gemini, or Mercury rather, moving really, really quickly. So looking into the monthly forecasts, I think I'm going to start with Aries and then work my way through the signs, just because that's what makes the most sense to me. And Aries people, I would definitely look at the physical space element of Cancer. Where are you operating your business? Now, this does not have to be like physical space as in brick and mortar, because not everybody has a brick and mortar business. I certainly don't. But it can be as simple as the desk you work from. It can be the online platforms that you use, as well as a brick and mortar store if that applies to you. And also thinking like, what is the history of your work? Does your family or ancestry factor into what you're doing with your business? That might be a very prevalent story coming up, because Cancer does actually link us to ancestry. And so much of this is going to be dependent on things like your routines, your systems, possibly coworkers, if you have anybody that's working with you. All of this is going to be really brought into question. So it's not even just like the foundation of your business, but what is like the day-to-day activity of it, because that might be feeling a little bit tense right now. And that's going to really showcase the cracks in the foundation, if there are any. So for you Taurus rising people, your chart ruler is Venus. And like I mentioned earlier, Venus is moving super, super slow right now because it's about to retrograde. And I would really, really pay attention to your client experience. What is that like? What are you providing people, especially on like the back end? Like what software, what systems, how are you keeping track of this kind of thing for yourself? And how does that affect your clients on the other side of things? Is it bogged down and clunky? Are you using a billion different softwares to do this kind of work? Is it confusing for clients to find you and to work with you? You really want to focus on making things as streamlined as possible, and also kind of connecting to your local network. So I wouldn't focus so much on bringing in new clients or new leads right now. I would in fact look at your current clients, your current leads, and what they can offer you. How do you warm up your audience even more? Because new is definitely not the answer for you right now. It's really more about connecting with your local community, and definitely in person, crafting events, tabling events, networking events, making sure that your community knows you exist, and making sure that the people already in your pool can have an easier time working with you, buying from you. That being said, now is definitely not the time to launch new products or services. Like I said, it's not about bringing in the new. You really have to focus on what you have right now and maximizing that potential and making sure that machine is working great before you shift your focus on something new. The client experience isn't what it should be yet. So you can't bring in new clients if you're not really servicing the ones you already have. Gemini rising, Gemini people, like I said earlier, with Mercury, things are moving fast for you. And right now is the time to jump on a new trend, to learn a new skill, to try something new, because that's going to service your business in the long run. If you feel new to the party, if something unusual is catching your eye, take some time to explore it. This is a really opportune moment for you to do that. And you likely feel a lot of movement within your finances right now. So use that and leverage that to your best potential. There's going to be, I really think there's going to be a shift of kind of like consumer trends. And if you take advantage of the newness of learning something new right now, you're probably going to be ahead of that curve. Cancer rising, this is your season, baby. This is not the time to pick up a new social media platform, let me tell you, this is really the time to establish and identify where you are right now and sink so much deeper into your branding and your messaging and your purpose and mission as a business. It is not the time to shift and try something new or call in a new audience. Like, you are working so much with just identifying even stronger with where you're at. And by being visible this way, by really rooting down into your values, you're going to be calling in more money, more clients, more sales, that kind of thing. That is what's really visible about you right now. Also, take the time to think about who you're willing to work with and where you want to work, what you want work to feel like. I can see this being a really big theme over the next couple months, but kind of take time to start thinking about that now. Who are you trying to work with? Who do you enjoy working with? Who are you calling in? Who do you want to work with more? Leo risings. So this probably feels like a little bit of a stagnant, heavier time for you, but what's so important is that you just stay on track, because it will pass. Really, what this is you're entering a new chapter and a new phase. And it feels like maybe some things aren't working. You're curious about where to move to next. In this confusion, you just have to kind of live in it for a while and really use it as a chance to like explore a little bit. But don't push when things become stagnant. Don't push for things to be concrete or to be locked down or for things to happen and to follow through. You just kind of have to like ride this wave, because a new chapter is beginning. It's just you have to first kind of close out where you already are before it embarks. Virgo rising, you're another mercurial sign, so things probably feel a little fast for you right now. My advice for you is to be critical of who's in your circles, who you're getting advice from. And this doesn't even have to be directly. Like, think about your social media feeds, the podcasts you listen to, the YouTube videos you watch, any place that you're getting advice and information, be critical of. Maybe it's time to cultivate your feeds a little bit better. Maybe it's time to let go of opinions that really don't serve you, or think a little bit more critically about where this advice is stemming from that you are picking up. Does it actually apply to you? There's definitely a really interesting feeling right now of creating healing connections, but also detrimental ones. So just be very critical about who you're letting in your circle and who you're trusting within your circle. But this doesn't mean that you should shy away from putting yourself out there. I think you have to do that regardless, but instead just like pay attention to who's taking notice and who's talking in your ear. Libra risings, you guys need to network. You guys need to get back in touch with what's going on in your industry right now, what's going on in your niche. You need to settle back into that and sort of revisit your messaging, your social media strategy, how you're putting yourself out there, review your offers, and really take stock of what your public image is at this time and what the state of your industry is at this time. So making connections with other people in your field, in your niche, is going to be super, super influential for you in this moment. Because with this Venus retrograde, things will be shifting and you don't want to be left behind. Scorpio risings. I feel like things have been really sticky for you lately. Like, things have not felt like a well-oiled machine. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the solution is not money-based. The solution is thinking outside the box. So do not throw money at ads. Do not throw money at mentors. Do not just throw money around hoping that it will get you unstuck, because really what will get you unstuck is widening your perception, invoking the hanged man energy, the tarot, the hanged one, of looking at things from a different perspective, flipping things upside down, and really expanding your horizons of what's possible and what's out there. Learning something completely new is going to do more for you right now than investing or throwing money in a direction where you think it goes. Right now, your business is in a transition and you just kind of have to like feel your way through it. And this block that you're feeling is likely influencing your social media and your marketing strategies. And like I said, throwing money at this issue will not fix it. Sagittarius risings. Any big shifts that you create will be felt financially and publicly for you. So be very careful about who you're aligning yourself with. Like, pay attention to that. This is really a time for merging and acquiring. And so you might be inspired by foreign lands, how people in other countries do things or run business, or people in other industries do this. Definitely take notes of that kind of things, but also keep a critical eye on the differences between you and others. But it's definitely like you're so used to just naturally expanding your mind anyway, that definitely lean into that energy, but not without a critical look. Because like I said, your public image and your finances are going to be really felt this month with the choices you make. So just pay attention to that. Capricorn risings. This is not the time to move. This is not the time to start something new. This is not the time to launch any new groups or platforms or anything like that. You're not inviting in new audiences. I really suggest that you take some time looking at ideal client and who you're selling to, who you're talking to. This is a really good time also to get reviews and testimonials and focus more on your credibility than expanding your horizons. And maybe even give back a little bit to the communities or to the people that you've already serviced. Aquarius risings, I want you to look at how you're speaking to cold audiences, to people who are newly entering your circle. Are you providing an open environment for them to come and explore, or are you light years away and not speaking to those people? Are you only speaking to the people who get it? Because I definitely think you need to start not looking at new audiences. I think new audiences are going to find you anyway, and you want to make sure that your marketing is really approachable from that level, and also focus on your daily operations. Again, that client experience, what does that look like for you? How is that being impacted? And do your daily rituals actually support your business, right? Because logically, your daily routine, the day-to-day things that you do in your business, they might make sense to you, but if they don't feel good to do, if they aren't done at the right time, if you're doing things on the wrong day, if it just isn't really jiving anymore for you, definitely take time to revisit that and find something that feels a little bit more aligned to just like your natural state versus like the machine you wish you could be. Also focus on where you're spending money in regard to these things, in regards to the platforms that you're using, the things that you're using to facilitate your day-to-day activities. Pisces risings, you need to show the behind the scenes of your business. What are you creating? What are you making? What does it look like? Go live for sure. Maybe even host a workshop. I can definitely see this idea of behind the scenes, of showing you packing orders, of showing you putting together a course, or of picking out new colors for something, or creating a workshop and putting that together. All of that is most likely going to entice a new audience. That's going to be what's really appealing to other people to see. And don't be afraid to like hide, or I should say stop hiding that stuff, and let kind of like, draw back the curtain, let people see what's going on with you, because what you're creating right now is just really fascinating to people and they want to see the insides of it. So that is my Cancer season and your business forecast. If you want any more from me, I have 2 free options for you to get more insights on astrology in your business. And the first is a free brand audit. So this is something we schedule a 20-minute call. Prior to that call, I take a look at your social media and your websites. And I'm a stranger, so I'm looking at it with fresh eyes as your customers or clients would be. So I'm going to tell you straight up ways that you can better cosmically align your brand, and also things you can do to just like look better online in general. So this is a free 20-minute audit. That is my gift to you. You could go ahead and schedule that by clicking the link down in the description. And my other second free offering is actually a Facebook group that I've just launched called the 10th House. And this is kind of like a little businessy online dinner party in a way. Like, I am giving you a seat at my table. I'm going to be doing weekly live workshops in this. And it's also going to be a really great place for you to ask questions, offer advice, network with other business folks, and get more astrology insights and just like juicy tidbits on how to make your business feel even more delicious. So if you're interested in joining my Facebook group, coming to my party, taking a seat at my table, I would love to serve you. And of course, the link is in the description for that. So I want to thank you so much for listening to this. If you want more of me in any sense, you could go ahead and give me a follow on Instagram and Facebook. I am at the.emma.martins, and I hope you have a great Cancer season.